Okay, this is how to uh, use the gravel calculator. So again, we're here on the Landscaper's Corner Advanced page, just like in all the other training videos on how to use the calculator. So I'm going to go down and find our gravel calculator. Make sure you watch all the videos and everything in order. This video that I'm making right now will actually be inserted between the measuring for gravel and the actual calculator itself. So you'll actually see the video that you're watching. It will be in here on the website, but obviously it's not there because I'm creating it right now. Okay, so once you've watched the how to walk off and measure the areas, which I'll also insert some videos in the future about how to use satellite to measure off these if you don't actually get out to the properties to walk them off, because you're not always able to actually look at the properties. I actually like to go out and look and walk it off myself, but if I don't have time, then I use the measuring tool online. Okay, so once you get to the gravel area, most of the time you would use gravel for like driveways and that kind of stuff, landscape type stuff. So anyways, this video I'm going to show you just an example, as I did up here using these measurements, how to use the calculator to measure out what you would need for that gravel driveway. Okay, so go down here, click here to download the gravel calculator, click on that. You don't have to double click, just click it once. Notice down here on the left it downloaded the gravel calculator. This is also the same calculator used for calculating small bedrock. I'm just doing two different trainings on it. Make sure you click on this enable editing. That way you can actually use the calculator. And notice the video to the right here. I'm just showing the measuring video, how to measure, and we're going to use the dimensions from that video. These dimensions, as I've mentioned in some of the other videos, are not necessarily accurate to the property that I've drawn out. I'm just using the dimensions as an illustration for how you would actually do that. So if I ever show any videos where I'm actually out there walking off, I'm not actually using the exact dimensions here in the video. This is just for illustration. Okay, so the length times the width. Make sure you section off each area just like with mulch or pine needles, so we know how much to have dumped in each area. Okay, so the length of this area 1 is 50 by 10. We're just going to do a 2-inch depth here on the gravel also. Just depends on if you're replenishing existing gravel or if you're doing a brand new install. If you were doing a brand new install, I would do 2 to 3 inches. Replenishing, I might only do like 1 inch. Okay, the second area, 20 by 20 at a 2-inch depth, and then third area, 20 by 10 at a 2-inch depth. Okay, now notice the wheelbarrow load size. Now my wheelbarrow is 10 cubic feet, or a 10 cubic feet wheelbarrow that you can buy. It's pretty much the largest wheelbarrow you can buy, but I can't actually, it's so heavy. If I were to fill that sucker up, I would not fill it up. So I'm not going to label this as a 10 cubic feet wheelbarrow. That way I know how many wheelbarrow loads I need. I'm going to put half, because I'm really only going to be able to do about half, fill that wheelbarrow about halfway. So I'm going to put 5 cubic feet per wheelbarrow. And as I've showed you in some of the other videos, when you're calculating, you can just click in the box, grab the arrow, and drag down, and it will copy the size. That way you don't have to re-enter in each section, especially if you have multiple sections. You can just do it very quickly. Same thing with the 2-inch depth. If I didn't punch all these in, you can just click and drag all the way down and then just punch in your length times your width, and then it will calculate it up. Okay, so now we see here that it is a total of 10.18. This is actually in tons. A lot of times when you get gravel or rock, they're going to measure it out in tons rather than cubic yards. But, however, this calculator I'll show you in a second, it actually calculates it both ways for you. Depending on the place where you buy, it will measure differently. Okay, so the default calculator that you are going to enter in here at the top is always in tons. But if you scroll down, notice I also created a cubic yards calculator here. Now you're not going to be able to enter anything in this one because the default one is the above, but it just automatically transfers all the dimensions into here. So notice it's 6.79 cubic yards that would cover the same areas. And the wheelbarrow loads are going to stay the same because the dimensions are the same. It's just the total cubic yards versus total tons is going to change. The total weight obviously is the same because you're getting the same amount. It just depends on how they measure it. So notice it's 20,370 pounds in the tons category, and it's the same obviously because you're getting the same amount of rock. It's just the total measurement, however the company that you get your rock from. So I just created this so you can have both just for your benefit. That way when you print this off and you take it over to the place where you'll get your gravel, depending on how they measure it out, you can give them either one of these and just say I need 10.1 tons, which I would just say 10 tons. Or you could do 6.7. I would just round it up a little bit and say I need 7 cubic yards. Again, that's for your benefit. And then this is the wheelbarrow load per area. Now, a driveway, obviously, if it's an existing driveway that you're replenishing or whatever, you could actually have the dump truck dump 3 different loads out, and you could kind of calculate it out, dump a third in this section, or dump just a little in this section, half in this section, and half in the other section. You'll just spread it out. Or if they just do one big solid dump in one area, then you can wheelbarrow it out to these different sections and you'll know how much you need. That's why one of the many benefits of the calculator that I have as opposed to any other measuring calculators that I've seen, none of them calculate out to the wheelbarrow load. So that's a huge benefit in using my calculators, is I not only give you the cubic yards and tons, like on this calculator, but I also give you down to the wheelbarrow load. I also show you the weight. This kind of an average. I've done a lot of research on the weight of the average, gravel. And the gravel and the small bedrock are the same average weight. That's why I combine this calculator. And then another huge benefit is the cost per cubic yard. Now you will type these in separately, so we'll first do the tons one. The cost per ton, where I get mine from, it's $90 a ton. So with tax, you want to include tax in that. So I would just say like 90. I mean, tax here is not quite 10%. I would just say 10%. So add I would say 95. You can ask what is that with tax? I've never actually added it up, but just average. So say $95 per ton, and labor install per ton. Man, this is a lot harder than shoveling mulch around, just moving mulch around real quick. You're actually having to use big rakes and shovels. So I'm going to actually say $75 per ton to spread. The delivery charge, I'm going to say $100 here. Now notice it's going to just calculate everything up. So this job is 1831, so $1,831. Now that, again, that total price that you're going to give to the customer includes the cost of the actual materials. I don't price it out separately for the customer. I just have them give them a total and enter it into the per service estimate form. And then when they, you just give that to them. And then I always ask for 50% up front, or however you want to do it. They've got to give you up front for the price of material. And you'll learn, if you go to do a job and you don't get paid for that material up front. I've actually went out and done mulch installs for like realtors and for people that live out of town. And you do the whole job, you out of pocket half of it for mulch, and then the out of town person decides not to send the realtor money, and they never pay you, and so you just did all this work. I just do 50% up front. That way I know I've got at least the material into it. And I'm not out of pocketing it that much. But again, notice down on the cubic yard side, if you want to calculate that in, then let's say you do, I've never actually even priced out per cubic yard, because the way my company that I buy all my materials, my mulch, my pine needles, rocks, everything through this one same company. Most of the time, I will use the same company, and I've never done per cubic yard. But let's just say it's going to be a little bit more per cubic yard, because it takes less cubic yards, because there's more material in each cubic yard than there are in an actual ton. See, because it takes 10 tons, but it only takes 6 cubic yards, so there's actually more in each cubic yard. So each cubic yard, I would say, it's probably, I don't know, just going to say $120. And then I'm going to do the same thing on $75 per cubic yard. 75. Now your price might not be the same. Here, delivery, $100. Obviously, notice the price difference, $14.24. I probably, what I would do if I were you, again, it just depends on your pricing per cubic yard and everything. I would just punch the pricing in here. Total job is $1,800 for the customer, because you always want to make sure you're on the higher end, or you don't want to underprice a job. I've done that, man, and you won't make any money. So just since this one was lower, again, I don't know the costs per cubic yard and everything. So, and really, actually, this would be higher because there's less cubic yards, but it's the same amount of spreading. You're still spreading the 36 wheelbarrow loads at the same amount. You're still spreading the same amount. So I would actually charge the same between these two calculators. This calculator really is just to help you measure. It's really helping you measure and calculate the amounts you need, and to give you a rough estimate for the customer. And then you'll actually take this total and go to the per service estimate form and put it to the estimate and give it to the customer. You're never going to let the customer see this. This is for your records. Then when you get done with this, you go up to File. You hit Save As. We're going to save it as a PDF, so you'll print this out and take it to the job along with the actual sheet that you use to measure everything out and the sheet that has the labeled areas. So we're going to go and we're going to save this as a PDF under, let's just say this is Bob Smith, Smith Gravel Driveway Estimate. Okay, now notice that says Excel Workbook. I'm going to save it as a PDF. Okay, and then click Save. And there it is. And what you'll do is you'll print this out. And I'm sorry about the I'll try to go in by the time you download this video and watch it. I'll try to make the calculator more printer friendly, so you have the two different calculators on two different pages. But nonetheless, you still have the calculations here, you know, for each section. So if you do it in tons, which most of the time you will with the rock, you'll just need this area, and then take the sheet that you filled out for the measuring, attach those together, and if you have employees that are doing it or whatever, they literally are going to know how many wheelbarrow loads to dump in each section. You know, average as they do it, depending on how much they fill the wheelbarrow up. Like I said here, I'm only going to fill it up about halfway because it's going to be so heavy. That stone is so heavy. You're not going to be able to fill up a 10 cubic feet wheelbarrow all the way to the top and wheelbarrow it around very far, unless you're like doing CrossFit and you're training using this and you're just going to kick butt and you're really strong. Otherwise, I'll just say this is an average. But all that to say, this is how you use the gravel calculator on how to spread gravel.